Welcome to the Liberty Audiobook channel. Today we bring you a profound journey into the depths of human resilience, a complete audiobook summary of David Goggins' transformative work, Cannot Hurt Me, Unlock Mental Toughness and Discipline. What if the only thing truly standing between you and the extraordinary life you envision was the voice in your own head? This is not just a book. It is a visceral journey into the story of a man who did not just silence that voice, but utterly shattered every limitation, turning unimaginable pain into an unyielding source of power. From an abused, overweight kid with a seemingly hopeless future, David Goggins emerged as a Navy SEAL, an ultra-endurance athlete, and a living symbol of mental toughness. His life proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that your mind, far from being a weakness, is your strongest muscle, capable of feats you currently deem impossible. But here is the brutal truth, delivered straight from Goggins himself. He is not special. You, yes, you, are capable of the very same transformation. This is not just motivation designed to make you feel good for a moment. This is a seismic wake-up call, an urgent summons to confront your excuses, to shed the layers of self-doubt, and to finally allow the real, powerful, and limitless you to be born. Welcome to Cannot Hurt Me, where excuses come to die and true potential is unleashed. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Was Broken. Our journey into Cannot Hurt Me begins not with a triumph, but with trauma. It is a story that does not start in strength, but in profound suffering. And yet, from the ashes of that suffering, rises one of the most powerful testaments to the indomitable human spirit you'll ever encounter. This is the genesis of David Goggins' story, not the celebrated Navy SEAL, not the record-breaking ultramarathon runner, not the icon of discipline, but the scared, beaten, and broken boy who lived in perpetual darkness. Because before you can truly grasp the immense strength of the man he became, you must first bear witness to the profound weakness, the raw vulnerability that he ultimately conquered. David Goggins was born in 1975 in Buffalo, New York. To an outsider, his early life might have appeared like any other typical American childhood. However, within the walls of the Goggins household, life was a living, breathing nightmare. His father, Toughness Goggins, owned and operated a roller skating rink, a business that outwardly projected joy and entertainment. But beneath this surface, a world of unimaginable violence and suffocating control festered. Toughness was a manipulative tyrant, a man who exerted his power through sheer pain and intimidation. David, his older brother, and their mother lived as prisoners in their own home. Beatings were a regular, terrifying occurrence. Fear was a constant companion, a heavy blanket that smothered any semblance of childhood joy or innocence before it even had a chance to bloom. At the tender age of just 6, David was forced into long, arduous hours of work at his father's rink. His nights were consumed by the mundane and exhausting tasks of wiping down rental skates, meticulously cleaning bathrooms, and dealing with customers, all while other children his age were playing or sleeping. He was not treated as a child. He was an employee, a servant, and tragically, a punching bag. If he did not work fast enough, or if he dared to cry, his father would ensure he remembered the agonizing consequences. The physical abuse was horrific, leaving visible scars, but the emotional and psychological damage ran far deeper. Goggins was relentlessly told he was nothing, over and over again. That kind of relentless negative conditioning carves deep, insidious scars into the very fabric of one's soul, shaping self-perception in devastating ways. Eventually, his mother could no longer endure the torment. In a desperate act of courage, she grabbed David and fled the house, leaving his older brother behind in the clutches of their father. For young David, the escape was a moment of profound, albeit temporary, relief, quickly followed by a maelstrom of confusion. How does a child, barely old enough to understand the world, process such deep-seated trauma? How do you even begin to rebuild a sense of self when your entire foundation was constructed from fear and pain? They attempted to start over in Brazil, Indiana, a small, quiet town, a new life. But the damage, the invisible wounds, did not simply vanish with the change of scenery. The immense emotional weight of his early years clung to him tenaciously, like heavy, invisible chains. David found himself falling severely behind in school, struggling immensely. He could barely read, possessed no confidence, harbored no hope, and held absolutely no belief that he could ever become anything more than the scared, broken boy he saw in the mirror. To compound his struggles, he was one of the very few black children in town, instantly making him a target. He faced relentless racism, ridicule, and profound isolation. Kids called him names, spat at him, and constantly reminded him that he did not belong, that he was an outsider. He was not just running from a terrible past. He was living in a present world that echoed his father's words, telling him every single day, "You are not enough." At this crucial stage in his young life, David Goggins was consumed by fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of pain, fear of life itself. And that fear did not merely reside in his head. It owned him, dictating his every move. He pretended to be someone he was not, adopting various masks to navigate his hostile environment. He cheated on school tests just to get by, lied about who he was to avoid being bullied, and consistently avoided challenges and dodged confrontation, choosing instead to recede into the shadows, making himself invisible. Goggins observed that most people follow a similar pattern, living with a silent, unspoken agreement. If I do not try too hard, I will not fail too hard. But deep down, Goggins knew this was not truly living. This was mere survival. And survival, he instinctively understood, is simply not enough when you are, in fact, born for something far, far greater. Chapter 2. The Birth of Warrior Mindset. David Goggins was no longer the terrified child trapped in a living nightmare, but his battle was far from over. If anything, life was about to test him with a ferocity he had yet to experience. Escaping a violent home is only the initial step. The true war begins when you attempt to rebuild yourself, armed with nothing but shattered pieces. As Goggins transitioned into high school, his struggles persisted and, in many ways, intensified. He could barely read or write at grade level, burdened by an undiagnosed severe learning disability. The racism he faced was no longer just name-calling. It was systemic, suffocating, and pervasive, creating an environment where he felt invisible in classrooms and hunted on the streets. He metaphorically carried an invisible backpack, heavy with fear, insecurity, and the unprocessed trauma of his past, a weight so immense it threatened to crush him daily. Yet, amidst this crushing burden, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper stirred within him. You were made for more. But this nascent voice of potential was frequently drowned out by the deafening noise of failure, rejection, and chronic pain. So he donned a mask, becoming what he terms a chameleon, adapting his persona to meet the expectations of others. He pretended to be a tough guy, a class clown, even a calculated cheater. To navigate the treacherous waters of school, he faked test scores, wore baggy clothes to conceal his deep-seated insecurity, and plastered on smiles to mask the profound depression that haunted his every waking moment. He existed without real goals, without purpose, simply in survival mode. Then, a dream, a near fantasy, began to take shape. He envisioned himself as an Air Force pararescue, one of the most elite and physically demanding military roles in the world. Could he, the broken, lost David Goggins, truly achieve such an impossible feat? Not with who he was at that moment, not yet. But this was the precise juncture where a new, more insistent voice entered his life. Not a whisper this time, but a direct challenge. What if I could? What if I became the man I have never seen, but always desperately needed? His first attempt to actualize this dream was marked by failure. Goggins applied to join the Air Force, and against all odds, he was accepted. This represented his first genuine chance at escape, his initial shot at something resembling greatness. There was, however, a significant, terrifying problem. He could not swim. At 6 feet tall, at nearly 300 pounds, swimming was not just difficult. It was a deeply rooted, paralyzing fear stemming from childhood trauma. Still, he tried. He trained with desperate intensity, pushing himself beyond what he thought possible, and yet he quit. He could not overcome the Air Force's arduous underwater training. The fear proved too potent, the self-doubt far louder than his burgeoning will. So he dropped out of pararescue training, opting instead for a safer military role. Just like that, the door to his dream slammed shut. He eventually left the military, returning to civilian life, to the same old destructive habits, the familiar weight, and a soul-crushing dead-end job spraying for cockroaches in grimy restaurants and gas stations. He was utterly miserable. He had failed again. At 24 years old, David Goggins had hit rock bottom. He weighed nearly 300 pounds, worked desolate night shifts, subsisted on fast food, and actively avoided mirrors, unable to face the reflection of his despair. One particularly dark night, he returned home from work, collapsed onto the couch, and turned on the TV. A documentary about Navy SEALs was playing. He watched in mesmerized silence as these men crawled through freezing mud, carried massive boats on their heads, and screamed through unimaginable pain. Instead of the laughter or cynicism that might typically arise, Goggins' felt familiar fire ignite within him. Those men are free, he thought. They own themselves. That night, for the first time in what felt like an eternity, he truly wanted something. He did not crave comfort. He yearned for purpose. Most people instinctively recoil from discomfort, actively avoiding it at all costs. But David Goggins, having stared into the abyss of his own failure, began to do the exact opposite. He coined this revolutionary approach, calousing the mind. Just as manual labor builds protective calluses on one's hands, so too does the mind grow stronger, more resilient, by deliberately engaging in hard, uncomfortable tasks on a daily basis. With this profound realization, Goggins made a decision that would irrevocably alter the course of his life. He would become a Navy SEAL. There was only one seemingly insurmountable problem. The Navy mandated that candidates weigh under 191 pounds. Goggins currently weighed a staggering 297 pounds, giving him precisely 3 months to lose over 100 pounds. This was, by any rational standard, operation impossible. Yet, this is precisely where Goggins' story pivoted from utter hopelessness to a hardcore, almost unbelievable transformation. He purged his life of all junk food, adopting an extreme, disciplined diet. He began waking up at 4:30 a.m. It wasn't 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 4:30 a.m. Wasn't 4:30 a.m. It 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 wasn't 4:30 a.m. He started meticulously tracking every calorie consumed, every mile run, every repetition performed. There were no shortcuts, no personal trainers, no external praise or validation, just pure, unadulterated suffering, relentless repetition, and unwavering commitment. And surprisingly, he loved it. Because, for the first time, he was not chasing external approval or the validation of others. He was chasing honor, discipline, and a deep internal power. He was building something within himself, an unshakable fortress that no one, not his past, not his critics, could ever take away. Those 3 months were a living hell. Every single day was a brutal battle. His legs bled from the incessant running. His lungs burned with an inferno of exertion. He frequently passed out from dehydration, vomited from sheer exhaustion, and cried tears of pain, but he did not stop. In the depths of his mind, he would scream questions at himself. Who are you, Goggins? What are you made of? And then, through gritted teeth, he would answer, I am the man who refuses to quit. In just under 90 days, he achieved the impossible, shedding over 100 pounds, shrinking from nearly 300 pounds to a lean 190. He then called Navy recruiters every single day, relentlessly, until one finally, hesitantly, said yes. Most people would have celebrated this monumental achievement, resting on their laurels. Not Goggins. He knew with absolute certainty that the war had only just begun. Chapter 3. The Accountability Mirror. Facing Your Brutal Truth. David Goggins' journey to self-mastery began not in a gym, nor on a battlefield, but in the most intimate and often avoided space, in front of a mirror. He calls it the accountability mirror, and it is one of the most powerful and brutal tools he developed for radical self-honesty. This mirror is not for vain self-admiration or feel-good affirmations. It is a battleground where excuses die, and the unvarnished truth about yourself is confronted daily. Goggins realized, after years of living in self-delusion, blaming the world for his predicament, that no one was coming to save him. No one was going to magically fix his overweight body, his broken mind, or his bleak future. The only person who held the power to change his life was the one staring back at him in that reflection. So he instituted this ritual. Every single night, he would stand before that mirror, call himself out with unflinching honesty. If he had been lazy that day, he admitted it aloud. If he had skipped a workout, he owned it completely. If he had made even a single excuse, he would brutally dismantle it. To amplify this self-confrontation, he began writing sticky notes, simple, stark truths about what he needed to fix. Words like fat, weak, scared, undisciplined. These were not intended to shame him, but to ignite furious, burning desire for change. He plastered these notes onto the mirror, forcing himself to face them every single day. That mirror transformed into his personal battleground, his war room, and his daily reset button. Each note was a mission. Each flaw was a target. Most people instinctively hide from their weaknesses, burying them under layers of denial and distraction. Goggins, conversely, hunted down. He understood that genuine growth never springs from comfort. It is born from confronting the ugliest, most uncomfortable parts of yourself and making a conscious, relentless decision to kill them off one by one. When you lie to yourself, you essentially steal from your future. When you bravely face yourself, you actively create it. The accountability mirror mercilessly forces you to stop pretending, to peel back the layers of societal expectations and self-deception. It compels you to become your own coach, your own motivator, your own drill sergeant. And in that raw, uncomfortable process, you forge something indomitable, genuine self-respect. Goggins asserts that while most people desire growth, they shrink from the pain it entails. They crave confidence, but shy away from the discipline required to build it. They yearn for results, but flee from the responsibility. The accountability mirror delivers all of it because it strips away the comforting narratives and exposes the raw truth. And once you confront that truth, a stark choice emerges: remain the same or get to work. Goggins did not become a Navy SEAL, an ultra-endurance athlete, or a world record holder because he possessed some innate, special quality. He achieved these feats because he unequivocally refused to lie to himself. He knew he was broken. He knew he was weak, and instead of concealing it, he exposed it. He wrote it down. He stared it directly in the face, and then he declared war upon it. Every sticky note on that mirror became a solemn promise. I will run tomorrow. I will stop eating junk. I will study harder. And each time he conquered one of these self-imposed missions, he would add another. This was not about self-flagellation. It was about building himself up honestly, relentlessly, and without seeking any shortcuts. That is the profound power of the accountability mirror. It becomes a sacred space of daily transformation, not through empty positive affirmations, but through savage, unapologetic truth. If you genuinely desire to change your life, Goggins implores you not to passively wait for motivation. Do not wait for the mythical perfect timing. Walk to the mirror tonight. Look at yourself. Articulate the truths you have been so diligently avoiding. Write them down. Own them completely. Then ask yourself the most critical question: what am I going to do about it? That question will either haunt you with its weight or empower you with its clarity. If you answer it with consistent, decisive action every single day, you will begin the profound process of becoming someone you barely recognize, a person stronger, sharper, and more focused than you ever dared to imagine. The accountability mirror is not about shame. It is about absolute ownership. The more you own your flaws, your weaknesses, and your past, the more control you seize back from the external world. You cease to be a passive victim of circumstances and instead become the active architect of your own destiny. The mirror does not lie. It merely reflects. And what you choose to do with that reflection determines everything. Chapter 4. Callous, your mind. Forging resilience through discomfort. Have you ever truly challenged yourself to the point of questioning your very ability to continue? If not, then it is time to delve into one of David Goggins' most foundational principles: callousing your mind. Think of your hands. When you first start lifting weights or doing hard manual labor, your palms are soft. They might blister. They certainly hurt. But if you relentlessly keep showing up, keep doing the work, your hands gradually build calluses, tough, hardened skin that protects you from pain and allows you to endure more. Goggins argues that your mind operates on the same principle. Every single time you willingly confront pain, discomfort, fear, and adversity, and choose to push through it rather than retreat, you are actively building mental calluses. You are forging a mind that does not flinch, a mind that leans into hardship, embraces the struggle, and refuses to back down. This mental toughening is not merely beneficial, it is essential, because life, Goggins insists, does not care about your comfort. Life will relentlessly test you. It will break you if you remain soft, unprepared. If you have not diligently trained your mind to endure, to fight, to adapt, then, when the inevitable hardships strike, you will, in his brutal assessment, fold. But if your mind is calloused, if it has been hardened by your own unwavering discipline and voluntary suffering, then, Goggins declares, nothing can truly stop you. Goggins was far from naturally tough. As he recounts in Cannot Hurt Me, he was initially weak, both mentally and physically. He endured abuse as a child, barely managed to graduate high school, and ballooned to over 300 pounds. But when he made the life-altering decision to become a Navy SEAL, everything profoundly changed. The journey was nothing short of brutal. He had to shed over 100 pounds in a mere few months, a feat of staggering discipline. Once he entered the crucible of SEAL training, he had to endure Hell Week, not once, not twice, but an unprecedented 3 times due to relentless injuries. Then there was his relentless pursuit of the world record for the most pull-ups in 24 hours. He failed not once, not twice, but 3 agonizing times before finally breaking the record on his 4th attempt, completing an astounding 430 pull-ups in 17 hours. This was not born of inherent talent or comfortable existence. It was pure grit, a testament to an ironclad mental callous. Consider his first 100-mile race, a challenge he undertook with absolutely zero formal long-distance training. On the day of the race, by mile 70, his feet were literally shattered, his legs locked up in agonizing cramps, and he was urinating blood. Most people would have, and indeed should have, stopped. But Goggins kept going, not because his body miraculously could, but because his mind, meticulously calloused, utterly refused to quit. To him, pain was not something to be avoided at all costs. It was a potent tool, a relentless sharpening stone, the very fire that forged his steel. So, how do you cultivate this kind of unshakable mind? You do not need to emulate Goggins by running 100 miles or performing thousands of pull-ups. The key is simpler, yet profoundly challenging. Suttered, doing something uncomfortable, intentionally, every single day. Begin small, but be utterly deliberate. Take a cold shower when your body screams for warmth. Force yourself awake at 5 a.m. when your mind desperately begs for more sleep. Push 1 extra rep at the gym when your muscles burn with fatigue. Say a firm no to sugar. Say a brave yes to that difficult, overdue conversation. Choose to walk instead of drive. Read a challenging book instead of mindlessly scrolling on your phone. These seemingly small daily moments of discomfort, when deliberately stacked, are the foundational bricks that callous your mind. Most people crave change, but actively recoil from the very process that instigates it. It declare, I want to get fit, yet they never truly want to sweat or endure the grind. Or, I want to be successful, but they meticulously avoid stress, struggle, and the possibility of failure. Growth, Goggins reminds us, does not blossom in ease. It thrives in friction. Observe high-performing athletes. Do you truly believe Olympic runners revel in every grueling mile of their training? Do successful entrepreneurs savor every 16-hour day spent grinding to build something meaningful? Do straight-A students never tire of studying while others are out partying? They succeed precisely because they have trained their minds to be stronger than their excuses. They have consciously chosen discomfort, not because it feels good, but because it makes them good. It makes them exceptional. Here is the wild, liberating truth. The more you intentionally lean into discomfort, the more you realize it will not actually kill you. that insidious voice in your head that whispers, "You cannot do this," begins to lose its tyrannical power. You start to recognize it for what it truly is, a liar. And as your pain tolerance steadily increases, so too does your resilience, your burgeoning confidence, and your insatiable hunger for more. Pain, Goggins asserts, is the indispensable entry fee to your next level of existence. Let us be honest, this mindset is far from popular. The world, Goggins observes, is obsessed with quick fixes, comfortable zones, and fleeting dopamine hits. But comfort zones, he warns, are precisely where dreams go to die. He challenges us to be uncommon amongst the uncommon. This means willingly doing what others refuse to do, so you can ultimately become what others can only dream of becoming. That transformative journey, Goggins insists, commences with embracing pain. Ask yourself, what is one thing you can deliberately do today that genuinely scares you, that stretches you, that makes you sweat, mentally, physically, emotionally? Do it. Then do it again tomorrow. Do not idly wait for motivation. Motivation, Goggins scoffs, is soft. Instead, show up with unwavering discipline. That is the only force that truly builds calluses. Over time, you will begin to notice a strange yet powerful metamorphosis. The things that once felt impossibly hard will now feel normal, even routine. Your dreaded cold showers will transform into your invigorating wake-up call. Your punishing early mornings will become sacred, non-negotiable rituals. Your sore muscles will feel like earned badges of honor, and that insidious voice in your head that once uttered, "I cannot," will be decisively replaced with a defiant, energized, "Bring it on." You will evolve into the kind of person who does not merely survive hardship. You actively hunt it down, seeking it out as a pathway to growth. You will shed your fear of pain because you will intimately understand that every single ounce of discomfort is meticulously building a stronger, more capable version of you. And when life, as it inevitably will, throws something truly monumental your way, when the job is unexpectedly lost, when the relationship crumbles, when a devastating setback hits, you will stand taller, more resolute, because you will have been here before. You will have rigorously trained for this moment. You will have thoroughly calloused your mind. So, I leave you with this potent question. When was the last time you truly challenged yourself on purpose? Not because external circumstances demanded it, but because you consciously chose to. If it has been too long, then perhaps today is the day you cease running from the pain and instead begin strategically using it to fuel your growth. Remember, growth lives exclusively on the other side of struggle. Pain is your personal gym. Discomfort is your most effective training partner. And the only way to become truly unstoppable is to be relentlessly forged in fire, callous or mind, every single day. Chapter 5. Embrace the suck, the forge of greatness. If there is one truth that dramatically distinguishes high performers from the vast majority, it is this: they relentlessly embrace the suck. This phrase, though crude, carries a brutally clear and profound meaning. The suck refers to the unglamorous grind, the pervasive pain, the mind-numbing repetition, the pervasive discomfort, the punishing early mornings, the bitterly cold nights, the sting of rejection, the isolating loneliness, the bone-deep fatigue, and the humbling sting of failure. It is in essence the part of life that most people actively avoid, yet it is precisely the arena where genuine greatness is meticulously forged. David Goggins does not merely acknowledge the suck, he actively welcomes it, building his entire life around its principles, because he intimately understands a fundamental truth: comfort has never and will never make anyone stronger. Let us abandon all sugarcoating. Life can be brutally hard. But what fundamentally separates those who grow and evolve from those who perpetually quit is not innate talent, advantageous background, or even sheer opportunity. It is this singular, non-negotiable factor, or unwavering willingness to stay in the fire where it begins to burn with unbearable intensity. Most people, when faced with such heat, immediately jump out. They instinctively retreat to safety. They loudly complain. They point fingers. They blame external forces, and they passively wait for the pain to mercifully pass. But the rare few, the truly uncommon, they lean in, they push deeper, they find a defiant smile amidst the storm. They embrace the suck. Goggins learned this harsh truth early in his life, not because he chose to, but because he was presented with no other viable option. Growing up in a crucible of violence, facing relentless racism, abuse, crippling poverty, and debilitating learning difficulties, he was thrust into a life of ceaseless struggle long before he possessed the vocabulary to even describe it. For years, he instinctively ran from the pain, attempting to escape its relentless grasp. But one pivotal day, something profound clicked within him. He realized that merely avoiding pain was not facilitating his escape. It was, in fact, systematically making him weaker, more vulnerable. So, he made a decision that the vast majority would never even dare to contemplate. He turned around and ran straight, headfirst, into the very heart of the storm. He began deliberately taking on jobs he despised, not for financial gain, but purely to prove to himself that he could endure them, that he possessed the mental fortitude to persist through discomfort. During SEAL training, he ran with stress fractures in his legs, taping his feet together and grinding through miles upon agonizing miles. He did this not because it was healthy or recommended, but because it was an absolute necessity for his personal evolution, for the forging of his indomitable spirit. He trained relentlessly in freezing, unforgiving weather, endured brutal physical torture, and consistently showed up, day after day, when every fiber of his being screamed at him to quit, to surrender. Why? Because Goggins understood a truth that the average person tragically overlooks. Every single second you willingly spend in discomfort is a second you are actively, profoundly getting stronger. Consider it in this way. Your comfort zone is an insidious trap. It lies to you with comforting whispers. It tells you that you are safe when, in reality, you are dangerously stagnant. It whispers that you have done enough, when in truth you have barely scratched the surface of your vast potential. The only viable path to truly breaking free from this trap is to rigorously train both your body and your mind to become profoundly comfortable with being uncomfortable. Every single time you deliberately choose to do something hard, something that makes you sweat, ache, stress, or even fail, you experience profound growth. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The suck, Goggins asserts, is the crucible where your true, unvarnished self is powerfully revealed. When circumstances are easy, everyone appears strong. But when life becomes truly, irrevocably hard, that is when the pretenders invariably quit and the true warriors decisively emerge. Embracing the suck is a conscious, deliberate act of choosing the harder path. It is about standing firm and declaring, I know this will cause pain. I know this will be deeply uncomfortable, but I am doing it anyway. You do not need to be a Navy SEAL to embody this powerful principle. Look closely around you. Every single person who rises above the pervasive mediocrity for modern life has learned how to sit patiently in discomfort without ever giving up. Soldiers march bravely into war zones, not because they find it enjoyable, but because their sacred mission transcends their personal comfort. Medical students painstakingly study for 18-hour days because their profound desire to heal others outweighs their exhaustion. Artists persistently create through waves of rejection and self-doubt because the act of creation is intrinsically woven into their very being. Athletes train rigorously through debilitating fatigue and searing pain because their overarching goals are monumentally larger than any fleeting excuse. You, fundamentally, are not so different from them. You possess goals. You harbor dreams. You face battles that demand your unwavering attention. And the only question that truly matters is this: are you willing to embrace the suck to ultimately get there? Here is how you can embark on this transformative journey. Do something hard, intentionally, every single day. Make it a non-negotiable rule. Wake up an hour earlier than your body desperately craves. Subject yourself to a freezing cold shower. Choose the stairs over the convenient elevator. Force yourself to go to the gym, even when your muscles protest vehemently. Take the terrifying leap and start that business, even when fear paralyzes you. Confront that difficult conversation you have been so meticulously avoiding. Write the first page of that daunting book, even when inspiration feels utterly absent. Every single act of consciously choosing resistance over ease meticulously conditions your mind for unparalleled strength. Start small, if you must, but most importantly, start. You are actively training yourself to endure. You are systematically rewiring your brain to lean in when everyone else instinctively checks out. The profound magic of embracing the suck is this: eventually, what once utterly broke you will transform into your new, unyielding baseline. That arduous run you could barely finish will become your effortless warm-up. That terrifying task that once filled you with dread will become routine, almost second nature. You will not merely get through the suck, you will transform into an entirely different person because of it. Someone stronger, someone sharper, someone utterly unstoppable. Goggins is not some explicable freak of nature. He is simply a man who consistently chose discomfort over debilitating excuses, day after day, year after relentless year. And that exact same path to self-mastery is wide open to you. Here is your personal challenge. What suck are you deliberately avoiding today? What hard thing have you been meticulously putting off? What task, what truth, what test are you instinctively running from? Identify it. Then, without hesitation, do it. Do not wait for fleeting motivation. Do not wait until it is convenient. Do it now, because the more you willingly embrace the suck, the more profound power you will gain. Every single time you lean into discomfort, you build muscle, mental muscle, emotional muscle, spiritual muscle, and the most empowering part, no one, absolutely no one, can ever take that from you. The world can strip away your money, your comfort, your painstakingly laid plans, but it can never seize your strength, your raw grit. That, my friend, is yours forever. But you only acquire it if you earn it, and you only earn it in the suck. In a world relentlessly obsessed with ease, choose to be the one who actively seeks hard things. In a society that perpetually promotes debilitating shortcuts, choose to be the one who confidently takes the long, arduous road. Because while others are frantically busy avoiding pain, you will be meticulously forging strength. While they cowardly retreat, you will defiantly rise. While they passively watch from the sidelines, you will be triumphantly in the arena, battered, bloodied, but undeniably unbreakable. And when the truly formidable tests of life inevitably come, as they always do, you will not require fleeting motivation. You will not need empty hype. You will not even require perfect, convenient conditions. You will simply need to remember precisely what you have trained for. Will smile, nod, with grim determination, and declare, "Let us know. I am built for this." Because you chose it. You embraced the suck. Chapter 6. The 40% Rule. Unlocking your untapped potential. Here is a hard, undeniable truth David Goggins uncovered through immense suffering. You are not even close to your full potential. Let that sink in for a moment. All those times you have uttered, "I am exhausted. I cannot go on. I am done." The brutal reality is, you were not. You had reserves of gas left in the tank. You just did not know it. Or more precisely, your mind did not want you to find out. This is where Goggins' legendary concept for 40% rule dramatically enters the picture. According to Goggins, when your mind tells you that you are done, when you truly believe you have hit the wall, when everything in your body screams to stop, you are actually only at 40% of your true physiological and psychological capacity. 40%. That means a staggering 60% of your potential lies dormant within you, simply waiting to be tapped into. the vast majority of people never access it. Why? Because their mind quits long before their body ever truly does. Because they encounter the first sign of resistance, the initial flicker of discomfort, and immediately back off. Because pain, fatigue, sheer boredom, and paralyzing fear conspire to convince them to slow down, to stop, long before they have even approached their genuine limit. But Goggins is a stark exception. He uncovered this profound truth the hard way, through blood, through sweat, and through an almost unbearable amount of suffering that most people will never experience. He realized unequivocally that you are capable far more than you have ever dared to imagine. Let us rewind to one of the most defining chapters of his life, Hell Week, the brutal gauntlet of Navy SEAL training. It is an unrelenting 5.5 days of relentless physical punishment, with barely any sleep, endless runs, freezing cold water submersion, and constant mental torment. It is designed with merciless precision to break you, and for the overwhelming majority of recruits, it succeeds. Over 70% of candidates drop out. But Goggins did not just endure Hell Week once. He went through it an unprecedented 3 times. Most would have quit before even signing up. Goggins, through sheer force of will, pushed through multiple debilitating injuries, profound exhaustion, and every insidious mental voice telling him to stop. He kept going because he unequivocally realized that the body is not the ultimate limitation. It is the mind that habitually applies the brakes. And here is the crucial kicker. He was not special from the outset. He was not born a Navy SEAL or a superhuman athlete. He was simply a man who learned, through brutal self-experimentation, how to silence the voice of comfort and, instead, listen intently to the unwavering voice of truth, the voice that incessantly whispered, "You have still got more to give." The 40% rule is not just applicable to SEAL training or extreme athletic feats. It applies universally everywhere in life. Imagine you are a student preparing for crucial exams. You have diligently studied for 2 hours, and your brain feels heavy, tired. You instinctively want to take a break, to mentally check out. But what if you are only at 40% of your actual cognitive capacity? What if you could push for just 1 more hour and unlock a deeper, more comprehensive understanding for material? Or perhaps you are at the gym. You have completed 10 reps of an exercise, and your muscles screaming with a fiery burn. That familiar voice creeps in. Stop here. You have done enough. But what for? If those 10 reps are merely your mind's safe zone, what if your body could genuinely handle 15 or even 20? Or consider working on a challenging business project or a deeply personal goal. You have been grinding for months, pouring your heart and soul into it, and yet nothing seems to be working. You desperately want to quit, to throw in the towel. But quitting at 40% means you will never, ever find out what transformative outcome might have occurred if you had just kept pushing just a little longer. Here is the frightening reality. Most people live their entire lives operating within that 40% threshold. They never truly tap into their true potential because they surrender far too soon. They tragically confuse temporary discomfort for fundamental incapability. But those rare individuals who meticulously learn to push past that mental barrier, those are the ones who enter rarefied air. They become truly uncommon. So, how do we actively utilize the 40% rule in your own real life? It begins with heightened awareness. The next time you feel an overwhelming urge to stop, whether it is during a grueling workout, a late-night study session, a tedious work task, or a tough emotional situation, pause. Take a deep, deliberate breath, and internally, or even audibly, declare to yourself, I'm only at 40%. This simple act, though it sounds elementary, creates a crucial moment to pause. It is a direct challenge to the voice of limitation in your head. At that precise moment is where genuine growth dramatically begins. Then push further, just a little. Do 5 more reps. Run 1 more mile. Read 1 more chapter. Make 1 more sales call. Push 20% beyond where you will normally stop. Over time, your baseline will inexorably expand. You will meticulously condition your brain to stop prematurely ringing the alarm bells. You will teach yourself, through undeniable experience, that what you once perceived as the absolute end was, in reality, merely the delicate edge of your comfort zone. Goggins articulates it best. Most of us give up way too early. We live a life dictated by fear, by comfort, and by false limits. But once you courageously break through those perceived limits, you realize, with startling clarity, that they were never truly real in the first place. Consider the example of Courtney Dauwalter, an ultramarathon runner who embodies the 40% rule in every fiber of her being. In one particular race, she ran an astonishing 138 miles in under 59 hours without any sleep. At one point, her vision blurred. She could not see clearly. Her legs were engulfed in agonizing pain, and her entire body screamed for immediate rest. But she did not quit. She finished, and, incredibly, she won. Was her body superhuman? No, she simply tapped into the additional 60% of capacity that the rest of us typically leave untouched. Or think of individuals battling severe illness, crippling poverty, deep trauma, or profound heartbreak. So many of them keep going, not because it is easy, but because they resolutely refuse to let their minds break. They access that extra, hidden layer of strength that we all possess, but rarely, if ever, explore. And you possess that exact same deep reservoir of strength within you. It is there, waiting, when you are climbing a seemingly endless hill, when you are staring down an impossible deadline, when life, unexpectedly, punches you squarely in the face. The critical question is, will you dig deep enough to truly find it? Let us transform this insight into actionable steps. Here is your immediate challenge. The very next time you feel done, when you are ready to stop, to give up, or to simply slow down, do not. Instead, push just 20% further, a little bit more. If you had planned to stop after 20 minutes of effort, push for 24 minutes. If you were on the verge of abandoning a significant goal, commit to working on it for just one more day. One more effort, one more powerful push. Then take a moment to reflect on how it truly felt. Did you die? No. Did it hurt? Probably, profoundly. But did it unequivocally show you something powerful, something transformative about yourself? Absolutely. Because every single time you courageously push past that 40% mark, you are actively rewriting your self-image. You are proving, undeniably, to yourself that you are capable of more, far more. And that burgeoning belief, that unwavering conviction, is an absolute game changer. Goggins did not ascend to elite status because he was inherently gifted. He became elite because he consistently kept showing up relentlessly. After the pain, after the gnawing doubt, after the insidious voice whispered, "That is enough," he heard that voice and defiantly responded, "You do not control me. I have got more. So do you." And here is the truth that most people never truly accept. The breakthrough you so desperately desire in life will never, ever come from remaining safely ensconced in your comfort zone. It will only manifest when you courageously punch past your perceived, self-imposed limits. Remember this immutable fact. At 40%, your journey has only just begun. Do not settle. Do not stop. Do not listen to the voice that desperately wants you to quit. Instead, listen to the powerful, insistent voice that declares, "Keep going. I have got more. I am not done yet," because you are not. Not even close. Chapter 7. Taking souls. Dominate the narrative. There is a concept David Goggins speaks of, which he dramatically calls taking souls. It sounds intense, and it absolutely is, but perhaps not in the way you might initially perceive. This is not about vengeance, anger, or hatred. It is about dominance, not dominance over others, but dominance over the narrative, over expectations, and most importantly, over your own self-doubt. It is about rising so far beyond what anyone, including yourself, thought you were capable of, that you utterly break the will of your doubters. You show them, through undeniable, relentless action, not empty words, that you are, in fact, unstoppable. Taking souls means outperforming expectations so ruthlessly, so consistently, that you completely flip the power dynamic. It is a form of psychological warfare of the highest order, not by tearing others down or engaging in petty rivalries, but by elevating your own performance to such a stratospheric level that your critics, your competitors, and even your own insidious inner demons are forced into stunned silence. They literally have nothing left to say because your actions, your sheer, unyielding output, have metaphorically taken their soul. This profound philosophy is forged in the brutal, unrelenting fire of Navy SEAL Hell Week. At one point during training, Goggins was on his third round of Hell Week, the only man in history to ever attempt and eventually complete 3. His class was decimated, utterly broken. The instructors, Elite warriors themselves were doing everything within their immense power to crush the trainees. Freezing cold water, pervasive sleep deprivation, non-stop physical torment. Everyone was on the verge of quitting, clinging to the last vestiges of their resolve. But something profound clicked in Goggins' mind. He realized he could not control the agonizing pain. He could not control the brutal conditions, but he could, with absolute certainty, control how he responded. So, what did he do? He started smiling. He started deliberately, doing more push-ups than he was required to. When the instructors barked their relentless commands, he moved faster, louder, stronger than anyone else. While the other recruits were barely clinging to survival, Goggins was, paradoxically, thriving. And the instructors, the hardened, elite warriors, specifically trained to break men, began to respect him, to fear him even, because he simply would not break. He did not just endure. He flipped the entire script. That, Goggins explains, is what taking souls truly looks like. It is not about ostentatious showing off. It is not about ostentatious showing off. It is not about arrogant display. It is about strategically using your pain, your past, and the insidious doubts of your critics as potent fuel. It is about transforming every sneer, every backhanded compliment, every low expectation into pure, unadulterated rocket fuel. When someone unequivocally states that you are not good enough, you do not argue, you do not complain, you do not seek validation. Instead, you outwork, outlast, and outshine them with such undeniable brilliance that they do not just lose confidence in your abilities, they begin to lose confidence in their own judgment, in their own sense of superiority. You make them question everything they thought they knew. Here is the liberating beauty of this mindset. You absolutely do not need to be in Navy SEAL training to take souls. You can powerfully apply this mindset in any and every area of your life, your job, your sport, your academic pursuits, your relationships, or even in your intensely personal battle with yourself. Let us say you work in an office environment. Your boss harbors a quiet belief that you are merely average. Your co-workers harbor doubts about your capabilities. You could become bitter. You could passively slack off. Or you could choose to take souls, show up consistently early, deliver work that is flawless, beyond reproach, consistently crush deadlines, voluntarily take on more responsibility, push yourself in front of them so powerfully and so consistently that they have absolutely no choice but to recognize and acknowledge your undeniable excellence. That, Goggins would say, is how you take their soul, not to cause them harm, but to definitively prove to yourself and to the world who you truly are. Or perhaps you are on a team. You are not the strongest player, nor the fastest. You have been routinely counted out, overlooked, but then you grind. You do extra sprints when no one is watching. You meticulously study the playbook more diligently than anyone else. You train alone in the quiet hours when no one can see your sacrifice. And then, on game day, you explode onto the field. You out-hustle everyone. Your coach's jaw drops in disbelief. Your teammates start looking at you with newfound respect. You have unequivocally taken souls. This is not about fostering an inflated ego. It is about unequivocally owning your story. It is about making a powerful internal decision that no one, absolutely no one, defines your worth but you. Not your traumatic past, not your lingering pain, not your vocal critics, not even your current circumstances. Goggins intimately knew what it felt like to be underestimated. He was the overweight kid, the one cleaning cockroach-infested restaurants, the one everyone openly laughed at. But instead of remaining broken, he used it. Every insult, every low expectation, every single ounce of doubt directed his way, he transformed into pure, unadulterated fire. And then he wielded that fire to become an unstoppable storm. He did not chase petty revenge, he chased monumental victory. And when you operate with that level of internal fire, that unshakable resolve, you begin to seize control even in the most seemingly uncontrollable environments. Here is how you can apply this potent principle in your own life. First, identify the specific area where people are clearly underestimating you. Where are you being routinely overlooked, mocked, dismissed, or doubted? Second, and crucially, do not argue. Do not post angry rants on social media. Do not attempt to explain yourself away. Just work. Work harder than anyone reasonably expects. Work in silence, if that is necessary. But when the pivotal moment inevitably arrives for you to show up so fully, so flawlessly, so fiercely, that they are compelled to recalibrate everything they thought they knew about you. That is the ultimate form of revenge. Not causing harm to others, but proving them resoundingly wrong by being so damn good that they simply cannot afford to ignore you. Goggins did not take souls by shouting louder than his detractors. He took souls by doing more. More pull-ups, more miles run, more sheer effort, more raw grit. And through that relentless commitment, he earned something far more powerful than fleeting victory. He earned profound respect. And let us be brutally honest. Some of us are not even attempting to take anyone else's soul. We are simply trying to reclaim our own. We have allowed life to beat us down. We have tragically believed the lies we tell ourselves. We have bought into the self-limiting beliefs placed upon us by others, or perhaps more insidiously, by ourselves. But now is the decisive time to fight back, to reclaim the scattered pieces of your soul that you have given away, to definitively prove to yourself what you are truly made of. Ask yourself, who do I need to take souls from? Is it that teacher who emphatically declared you would never succeed? That boss who perpetually passed you over for promotion? That friend who condescendingly laughed to a most cherished dream? Or is it the old version of you, the one who prematurely quit, settled too soon, and chose to remain too small? Whoever it is time, not to merely get even, but to unequivocally rise above, to transform their corrosive doubt into unshakable discipline, their harsh judgment into potent fuel, their self-imposed limits into powerful launch pads for your own ascent. The next time someone underestimates you, simply smile. Thank them silently for their unwitting contribution to your fire. Then, go take their soul not with hate, but with unparalleled excellence. Let your actions and your efforts speak so thunderously loud that it silences everything else, all the noise and the doubt, because in this life you are presented with a choice. You can allow yourself to be broken by their doubts, or you can decisively break their doubts with the sheer force of your own greatness. Be the storm, take souls, and never, ever look back. Chapter 8. The Cookie Jar. Drawing strength from your past victories. When life inevitably turns brutal, when you find yourself utterly exhausted, completely devoid of motivation, and teetering on the precipice of quitting, you require something far deeper than mere willpower to keep you moving forward. David Goggins calls this potent inner fuel source the cookie jar, but do not let the seemingly benign name deceive you. This is not about sweet treats or comforting snacks. This cookie jar is a meticulously constructed mental vault, a powerful repository where you consciously store memories of your every hard-won victory, every fierce battle you have fought and overcome, every single moment where you achieved what initially felt utterly impossible. And when life aggressively backs you into a corner, when despair threatens to overwhelm, you reach deep into that mental jar, pluck out one of those cherished memories, and emphatically remind yourself, I have been through worse. I have conquered formidable challenges before. I will conquer again. The cookie jar is meticulously built from the raw material of your past experiences. Every single time you survive a particularly tough season, achieve something profoundly meaningful, or courageously push through debilitating pain, that specific moment transforms into a precious cookie that you carefully store away for future use. It becomes undeniable proof of your capabilities. And that proof, Goggins stresses, is absolutely vital, especially when your current struggle relentlessly tries to convince you that you're simply not strong enough, not capable enough, not good enough to continue. Because doubt, insidious and pervasive, will inevitably creep in. Pain, relentless and overwhelming, will attempt to make you forget who you truly are. But the cookie jar, like a beacon in the storm, brings all of that empowering self-knowledge rushing back. It silences fear with concrete facts. You have already done hard things. Here is the irrefutable evidence. Goggins meticulously built his own cookie jar from a life marred by profound trauma and punctuated by extraordinary triumphs. He did not emerge from a background of comfort or privilege. He grew up abused, neglected, and constantly terrified. He failed repeatedly at school, at various dead-end jobs, at achieving even basic life stability. But then, gradually, painstakingly, he started winning. He dramatically lost over 100 pounds in just a few months, a testament to his burgeoning discipline. He successfully navigated Navy SEAL training, an astounding 3 times. He completed ultramarathons with literal broken bones, shattered feet, and a body that, by all rationing metrics, should have simply quit. In his darkest, most agonizing moments, when his body screamed to a halt and his mind insisted he could not continue another step, he reached into his cookie jar. He would vividly recall the moment he finally graduated beads, the moment he violently broke through suffocating pain barriers, the moment he definitively walked away from a life defined by excuses and began meticulously building something solid, something real. Each memory, each cookie became a potent source of fuel, something he could mentally pull out and chew on when the pain returned, something to powerfully remind him, you have survived worse. You have thrived before. You are immeasurably stronger than you currently believe. But the cookie jar, Goggins emphasizes, is not exclusively reserved for Navy SEALs or elite athletes. It's a powerful, accessible tool for all of us. Consider this profound truth. You have already won countless battles in your own life. Perhaps you do not give yourself adequate credit for them, because it might not seem grand or significant enough. But let me ask you, have you ever resiliently come back after a devastating heartbreak? Have you ever successfully passed an exam you were convinced you would fail? Have you ever finally completed a monumental project after weeks of crushing stress, the pervasive doubt? Have you ever simply picked yourself up after falling completely apart? Those, Goggins declares, are undeniable victories, and they absolutely belong in your personal cookie jar. Life moves at a relentless pace, and most of us tragically forget our wins the moment we move past them. We relentlessly chase the next goal, forever focused on the next formidable mountain, never pausing to acknowledge and celebrate the dozens of smaller peaks we have already conquered behind us. But that, Goggins warns, is a critical mistake, because when the storm inevitably hits again, and it will, you will desperately need those stored victories. You will need to look yourself in the mirror and declare with unshakable conviction, I have been through this. I have definitively beaten worse. I can and will do it again. That, he proclaims, is the profound power of the cookie jar. Here is how you can meticulously build your own personal cookie jar. Start by creating a comprehensive list. Write down every single struggle you have successfully overcome. Cast your mind back to the hardest, most challenging seasons of your life, times when you genuinely thought you could not make it, but somehow, inexplicably, you did. Write down all your victories, no matter how seemingly big or small. Perhaps you finally graduated from a challenging program. Perhaps you bravely forgave someone who deeply wronged you. Perhaps you courageously started therapy, lost a significant amount of weight, finally extracted yourself from a toxic relationship, or simply kept showing up day after day, when every fiber of your being screamed at you to quit. Write it all down in vivid detail. These, Goggins declares, are your priceless cookies. Keep that list somewhere easily accessible. In your phone, a dedicated journal, perhaps even a wall covered in sticky notes. Whatever method works best for you. And, crucially, make it a consistent habit. Every single time you overcome something new, something challenging, diligently add it to your jar. Eventually, you will possess a vast, invaluable stockpile of undeniable proof that you are unequivocally a fighter. And when life inevitably gets messy and uncertain, that is precisely what you reach for. Imagine a student facing final exams, stressed beyond their limits, utterly convinced they will fail. If that student possesses a well-stocked cookie jar, filled with memories of successfully passing tough tests in the past, of staying up all night and ultimately succeeding, of overcoming previous academic setbacks, they will tap into that powerful reservoir and find the inner strength to push through. Or envision a young entrepreneur on the very brink of shutting down their burgeoning business after a series of disheartening failures. If they pause and look back, remembering all the seemingly insurmountable problems they have already solved, all the countless nights they toiled through, all the small victories they have already achieved, they will realize, I have come too far to stop now. This is not the end. This is not about passively dwelling in the past. It is about dynamically drawing power from it. The cookie jar serves as a potent reminder of your inherent potential when the present moment relentlessly tries to make you forget. It is your invaluable comeback fuel. Goggins did not merely conceptualize this idea. He lived it with every fiber of his being. During one particular 100-mile race, with his feet literally broken and his body teetering on the verge of complete shutdown, he wanted to quit more than anything he had ever desired. He was engulfed in unimaginable agony, but he reached deep into his cookie jar and vividly recalled every brutal challenge he had faced before, every single time he had relentlessly pushed through, every instance he had emerged stronger on the other side. That sheer mental strength, fooled by those powerful memories, propelled him across the finish line. Not talent, not perfect preparation, but pure, unadulterated mental recall, irrefutable proof that he could indeed do it. Your life has already equipped you with the indispensable tools to win. You simply need to remember them, to consciously access them. Here is a reflective challenge for you. What is currently in your cookie jar? What profound battles have you already valiantly won? What searing pain have you already endured and courageously walked through? Take just 5 minutes today. Write down at least 5 of those powerful moments. Begin building that list. Do not idly wait until life delivers another crushing blow to seek motivation. Build your cookie jar now with meticulous care, because the next time you won't quit, the next time doubt insidiously creeps in, the next time everything feels overwhelmingly stacked against you, you will need to reach in, grab a cookie, and powerfully remind yourself, I have done it before. I will do it again. Chapter 9. The Governor. breaking the mental speed limit. What if I told you that the very limits you passionately believe about yourself, the things you steadfastly think you cannot do, are not even truly real? What if there exists a built-in mechanism within your own brain, designed not to reveal your true capacity, but rather to protect you from discomfort at the steep cost of your potential greatness? David Goggins calls this insidious mechanism the governor, and he asserts that it is not there to help you thrive. It is there primarily to keep you safe. But safe, Goggins argues, does not lead to transformative growth. Safe does not push boundaries. Safe certainly does not allow you to become the extraordinary individual you are truly meant to be. In the world of automotive engineering, a governor is a mechanical device installed in car engines specifically to cap their maximum speed. It prevents the car from reaching its full, unadulterated potential, not because the car inherently cannot handle it, but because it has been programmed not to try. Goggins maintains that the human mind operates in precisely the same fashion. We all possess this deeply ingrained mental governor that begins to scream the moment things become genuinely hard. It issues insistent commands. Slow down. Stop. You cannot go any further. This is your limit. But here is the profound truth Goggins discovered. That governor is fundamentally lying to you. Your real, true limits extend far beyond what your mind's protective mechanism tells you. The problem, Goggins laments, is that most people never get the chance to discover these true limits because they stop far too early. The discomfort inevitably kicks in. The self-doubt begins to grow louder and more persuasive, and the governor successfully pulls you back into your comfort zone. It whispers, or sometimes shouts, that you are too tired, too unqualified, too slow, too weak. But these, Goggins insists, are not immutable facts. They are merely fears in disguise. They are not truths. They are comfort zones, masquerading as unyielding boundaries. Goggins personally encountered his own mental governor countless times, sometimes literally mid-stride, during grueling 100-mile races, during world record pull-up attempts, and throughout the relentless crucible of SEAL training. He would repeatedly hit the wall, that terrifying point where everything inside him unequivocally declared, "That is it. You are done." His body would scream in agony. His mind would beg for merciful surrender. But instead of stopping, he pushed. He defiantly questioned the governor's authority. And what he discovered, through sheer, unadulterated willpower, was profoundly liberating. Every single time he deliberately went beyond what he thought was his limit, there was, miraculously, more endurance, more strength, more mental clarity, more resilience. The governor, he realized with a jolt, was merely a suggestion, an internal advisory, not an unbreakable law. Let us take a moment to bring this powerful concept directly home to you. Think about something specific in your life where you currently feel stuck. It could be in your fitness journey. You might genuinely believe you cannot perform more than 5 push-ups, run beyond a single mile, or shed a certain amount of weight, or perhaps it is related to learning. You have convinced yourself you are simply not adept at mathematics, or that you are too old to start coding, or that you are inherently bad at public speaking. or maybe it pertains to your business aspirations. You repeatedly tell yourself, I do not possess what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur, or I could never sell anything, or I am just not confident enough to effectively lead. But let me pose a critical question. Where did those deeply ingrained beliefs originate? Did they arise from repeated, conclusive failures, or primarily from unfounded fear? Did you rigorously test them to their absolute breaking point? Or did your internal governor simply install them automatically to meticulously keep you confined within your predetermined zone of comfort? Most of us, Goggins observes, never truly challenge the governor. We tragically mistake its cautious voice for profound wisdom. We often resignedly say, that is just how I am. But Goggins asserts, that is not how you are. That is merely how your governor wants you to be. Predictable, safe, controlled, and ultimately average. But deep down, somewhere in the quiet recesses of your being, you inherently know there is more. You have experienced fleeting glimpses of it. That spark, that unyielding fire, that raw rage, that insatiable hunger, that singular moment when you pushed past your fear and unexpectedly surprised yourself. That is the real you. Goggins overly calls out this mental governor every single time he confronts adversity. He states with unwavering conviction, the moment you feel like quitting, when your body aches with unbearable pain, your willpower rapidly fades, and your cascade of excuses begins to stack up, that is not your actual limit. That is merely the start of your profound growth. That is precisely when your true training begins. That is when you finally discover what you are genuinely made of. And this transformative principle does not exclusively apply to elite athletes or seasoned military operators. Consider a diligent college student struggling intensely to pass a series of tough exams. The governor incessantly tells them, you have studied enough. You are simply not smart enough for this demanding subject. But what if that student were to study for just one more hour? What if they bravely reached out for academic help, joined a dedicated study group, or strategically tried a completely new learning strategy? The governor, Goggins, reminds us, is not an immutable truth. It is merely a self-imposed ceiling that you possess the inherent power to shatter. Or envision someone utterly terrified of public speaking. The governor immediately interjects, do not even try. You will only embarrass yourself. But if that person stands up anyway, sweating profusely, voice trembling uncontrollably, heart pounding like a drum, and manages to deliver even a few shaky words, they have already achieved a monumental victory. They have decisively surpassed the governor, and the more consistently they choose to do it, the quieter, the less authoritative that internal governor becomes. Goggins firmly believes that we are all operating at only a mere fraction of our true potential, perhaps 40%, or even considerably less, because we passively allow the governor to dictate our limits. But here is the incredibly empowering news. You can absolutely override it. You can meticulously rewire your mind to stop slavishly listening to these fabricated limits, and instead begin actively discovering your real, boundless possibilities. Here is how to begin this liberation. First, become acutely aware of your governor. Start actively noticing precisely when that limiting voice shows up. It often manifests I have done enough for today, or simply too hard, or will never be able to accomplish that, or what is the actual point in trying? Second, question it. Literally pause your activity and ask yourself, is this truly my limit? Or is this just my governor talking? What would genuinely happen if I pushed myself for 5 more minutes? 1 more repetition? Sent 1 more application? Engaged in a more difficult conversation? Third, push anyway, not recklessly, but intentionally. Deliberately add pressure, consciously increase discomfort, and purposefully stay in the challenging situation longer than your mind considers reasonable. That, Goggins asserts, is precisely where the magic of transformation occurs. That is where genuine growth resides. And finally, reflect. After you courageously push through, take a moment to acknowledge the undeniable truth. You went beyond what you previously thought you could do. That, Goggins emphasizes, is irrefutable evidence that your governor is not in control. You are. So now, here is your personal challenge. Pick one specific area in your life where you have knowingly or unknowingly set a false limit for yourself, and make a conscious decision to break it this week. Perhaps it is committing to waking up earlier, running a bit farther than before, bravely speaking up in a meeting, or finally launching that innovative idea you have been procrastinating on. Whatever it is, clearly name it, directly face it, and, with unwavering resolve, push. Because here is the stark reality. Your mental governor desperately wants to keep you small, safe, utterly average. But greatness, Goggins adamantly declares, does not reside in safety. It lives in the exhilarating unknown, in the challenging places your governor vehemently tells you to avoid, in the very challenges that feel just a little too formidable, a little too grand. So, take action. Break the mental speed limit. Rip the insidious governor out of your brain and embark on the transformative journey to discover what you are truly, breathtakingly capable of. You might just uncover the profound truth that your best life, the one overflowing with purpose, power, and boundless potential, was never truly out of reach. It was merely waiting, patiently, just past the governor, all along. Chapter 10. Talent Not Required. The Triumph of Effort. In this powerful chapter, David Goggins relentlessly shatters one of the most widely accepted myths in the world, the pervasive belief that success is reserved solely for the naturally talented, the inherently gifted. He states, in his blunt, unapologetic style, talent is overrated. It is a convenient excuse, a societal crutch, a lazy way to rationalize inaction, and a ready justification for mediocrity. Goggins himself did not emerge from a background steeped in greatness. He was born into profound chaos, raised in an environment saturated with fear, relentlessly beaten down by the harsh realities of life, and repeatedly told by those around him and by his own inner critic that he would never amount to anything significant. No one, looking at the abused, overweight, early literate young David, would have ever declared, "That guy is destined to be a Navy SEAL." No one foresaw future record-breaking endurance athlete and the depressed exterminator who sprayed for cockroaches at night. But Goggins vehemently states that he did not care what others saw or thought. What consumed him was what he was willing to become, and he made conscious, unshakable decision. Hard work, he resolved, would triumph over talent every single time. Talent chose not to work hard. He proved, through undeniable, arduous effort, through relentless obsession, and through unwavering self-discipline, that anyone, absolutely anyone, can transcend what they or others previously believed to be possible. He recounts how he transformed himself, not just once, but multiple times, not through some magical, inherent gift, but through a series of deliberate, agonizing choices. He studied with an intensity that surpassed everyone else to pass the rigorous ASVB for military entry, despite his learning disabilities. He trained with a ferocity that few could match, enabling him to survive the notorious Hell Week, not once, but 3 times. He continued running when his legs were literally broken. He competed fiercely when his body desperately begged him to quit. He achieved these feats not because he possessed special innate abilities, but because he cultivated a truly special mindset, a mindset that unequivocally rejected excuses, shunned comfort, and refused to conform to average standards. The uncomfortable truth that Goggins relentlessly drives home is this: most people desire impressive results, but are fundamentally unwilling to suffer for them. They crave transformation without the inevitable tribulation. They yearn for growth without the necessary grit. But the real world, he asserts, simply does not operate that way. Nothing genuinely worth having comes without profound hardship, and nothing of lasting significance is ever built without consistent, deliberate, and often painful action. Goggins vividly narrates stories of how people constantly doubted him. They proclaimed he was not smart enough, fast enough, strong enough. But instead of defensively arguing or trying to convince them with words, he let his actions speak with thunderous clarity. He became utterly obsessed with self-improvement. He transformed suffering into a sacred ritual, not a punishment to be endured. He meticulously molded himself into one of the most driven men alive, not because he was forced to, but because he consciously chose to. That, Goggins emphasizes, is the liberating power of ownership. When you cease blaming your past, your parents, your genetic predispositions, or your external circumstances, and instead begin to fully own your future, you become an unstoppable force. He powerfully reminds us that everyone has access to the very same potent tool, effort. Talent may grant someone an initial head start, but it absolutely does not guarantee he will finish the race, let alone win it. Effort, Goggins argues, always wins in the long run. Why? Because consistent effort meticulously builds character, and character, unlike fleeting motivation, transient emotion, or external praise, endures. He cites the common example of successful athletes and students who coast effortlessly on their natural talent early in life, only to spectacularly collapse when genuine adversity or sustained difficulty inevitably arises. Meanwhile, the grinders, The individuals who painstakingly had to earn every single inch of their progress develop an internal mental toughness that cannot be faked and cannot be broken. Goggins issues a direct invitation. Where are you currently hiding behind convenient excuses? Where are you passively waiting for external permission to act? Where are you idly hoping for an influx of talent, instead of diligently training to acquire new skills? He states it plainly and unequivocally. You do not need talent. You need hunger. A deep, insatiable hunger. You need accountability. A ruthless self-accountability. You need to irrevocably stop negotiating with your own inherent weakness. And you need to fundamentally realize that consistent effort, repeated meticulously over time, creates its own profound, transformative kind of genius. The message here is elegantly simple and crystal clear. Talent is optional. Effort is mandatory. You do not, Goggins insists, have to be born special to achieve something truly special. You simply have to be willing to consistently do what others are unwilling to do. You have to be willing to look foolish, to fail frequently and spectacularly, and to defiantly rise again, regardless. Most people instinctively avoid pain, but pain, Goggins declares, is the indispensable gateway to greatness. Most people actively shy away from discomfort, but discomfort is the unyielding currency of profound growth. Goggins did not transform into a formidable warrior because he was born inherently different. He became a warrior because he made a conscious, daily decision to fight for his future, for his very existence. And now, he declares, it is undeniably your turn. The only question that genuinely matters is this: how relentlessly hard are you truly willing to work? Chapter 11. Empowerment through failure. Learning to rise. David Goggins unveils one of the most crucial and liberating lessons he gleaned from his arduous journey. Failure is not the enemy. It is, in fact, the greatest teacher. He explains that throughout his life, from a profound trauma of his childhood to countless military setbacks, from debilitating physical injuries to mental breakdowns, failure was a relentless and constant companion. Initially, these failures crushed him, leading him to question his intrinsic worth and purpose. But over time, through sheer, bloody-minded persistence, he learned to embrace failure, not as a dead end, but as an indispensable stepping stone toward unparalleled growth and ultimate success. Failure, Goggins discovered, mercilessly exposed his weaknesses, starkly highlighted his blind spots, and brutally forced him to confront uncomfortable truths about himself. Instead of actively avoiding failure, he began to intentionally seek it out, understanding with a growing conviction that each setback contained invaluable lessons and profound opportunities for improvement. Goggins vividly recounts his experiences where repeated failures, rather than diminishing him, profoundly humbled him. More importantly, they propelled him to work harder, to train smarter, and to relentlessly strengthen his mind. He stresses that the initial pain and humiliation of failure are always temporary, but the wisdom, the hard-earned lessons gained from those experiences are lifelong and invaluable. He provocatively calls failure a gift, precisely because it bestows upon you a searing clarity about where to strategically focus your efforts next. He shares compelling stories of his failures during the brutal Hell Week and in various ultra-endurance races, moments where he desperately wanted to quit, to simply give up. But instead, he consciously chose to learn from each setback, each agonizing stumble. This unwavering ability to bounce back, to pick himself up, and to relentlessly keep going is what fundamentally distinguished him from those who inevitably gave up. Goggins elucidates that when you deliberately reframe failure as constructive feedback rather than a definitive defeat, you unlock a profoundly powerful mindset. This mindset transforms seemingly insurmountable obstacles into clear, navigable stepping stones. This mental shift fuels a relentless persistence, empowering you to confidently take on challenges that initially appear utterly impossible. The fundamental difference, he asserts, between those who ultimately succeed and those who do not lies squarely in how they choose to respond to failure. Goggins also deeply delves into the critical importance of accountability in this process. He argues that unequivocally owning your failures, being brutally honest with yourself about your shortcomings, and steadfastly refusing to concoct excuses are all absolutely key to true empowerment. Only when you courageously accept your shortcomings can you effectively develop a clear, actionable plan to overcome them. He challenges readers to physically write down their failures, to meticulously study them, and to purposefully use them as fuel for future growth, rather than allowing them to fester as a source of debilitating shame. This practice, he claims, forces a level of self-awareness that systematically breaks through ingrained mental barriers and illuminates a precise roadmap for future success. The chapter culminates with a powerful, echoing reminder. Failure is an inevitable part of the human experience. It will always happen, but quitting is an optional choice. The strongest individuals, Goggins declares, are not those who miraculously never fail. They are, instead, the ones who fail, who learn from the experience, who adapt their approach, and who, with unyielding determination, keep moving forward, armed with greater resolve and deeper wisdom. Goggins calls upon you to fundamentally shift your relationship with failure, from one rooted in paralyzing fear to one animated by curious exploration, from passive avoidance to courageous embrace. When you achieve this profound shift, you will, without doubt, discover untapped reserves of strength, resilience, and an exhilarating mental freedom. Failure will no longer exert control over you. Metformint, through failure, will instead become your new, liberating reality. Chapter 12. The Accountability Equation. Owning Your Entire Life. David Goggins dives into the concept of radical self-accountability, pushing far beyond superficial notion of simple responsibility. He explains that most people habitually lie to themselves daily about their effort, their discipline, their deepest fears, and their most cherished dreams. They invariably soften the brutal truth, conveniently blame others for their shortcomings, or meticulously avoid confronting their own flaws. What Goggins adamantly declares: genuine growth begins only can you courageously face the brutal, unvarnished facts about who you truly are and what you are actively avoiding. Goggins encapsulates this unfiltered honesty in what he calls the accountability equation. Brutal truth plus consistent action equals self-mastery and ultimately freedom. Goggins profoundly emphasizes that you absolutely cannot fix what you resolutely refuse to admit. He vehemently encourages people to cease blaming external conditions, such as lack of time, insufficient money, or the actions of others for their personal failures. Instead, he urges, look directly in the mirror and courageously accept what is demonstrably missing in your own effort, your own mindset, or your own preparation. This metaphorical mirror becomes not a tool for self-criticism, but a powerful instrument for searing clarity and essential recalibration. He revisits his own rock-bottom moment at 297 pounds, admitting he was in profound denial about how far he had drifted from any semblance of discipline. Instead of passively accepting weakness as his immutable fate, he confronted it head-on, systematically building an ironclad system of accountability. This rigorous system included meticulously tracking every calorie consumed, every mile run, every minute of sleep, and every single decision made. His eventual success, he states, was not primarily driven by fleeting motivation, but by cold, hard data and unyielding discipline. Goggins passionately urges readers to construct their own personal accountability matrix. Write down, with meticulous detail, everything you claim to want: peak fitness, substantial wealth, unwavering discipline, significant success. Then, with equal rigor, document what you are actually doing about it. Track your daily habits, your consistent behaviors, and, crucially, your recurrent excuses. Most people, he observes, instinctively recoil from this process because it mercilessly exposes the uncomfortable gap between who they currently are and who they meticulously pretend to be. But that very gap, Goggins declares, is the precise, fertile ground where transformative change begins to blossom. He powerfully points out that true accountability, while initially painful because it strips away comforting illusions, ultimately becomes profoundly empowering. You gradually cease to require external validation because your intrinsic self-worth is derived from the unwavering discipline of living in authentic alignment with your deepest values. You become immune to external criticism because you already intimately know precisely where your weaknesses lie and you are actively and relentlessly working to fortify them. The chapter culminates with a challenging, yet liberating call to action. For the next 30 days, commit to taking total, unadulterated ownership of every single action, every single excuse, every missed workout, every wasted hour. Absolutely no blaming, no softening of the truth, no elaborate stories or justifications, just ruthless, uncompromising self-tracking and radical honesty. Over time, Goggins promises, this consistent practice will not merely make you stronger, it will ultimately make you utterly unstoppable. Chapter 13. The War Within. Mastering the Inner Battlefield. David Goggins opens this chapter with a stark, unsettling declaration. The most brutal battlefield he has ever confronted is not the grueling Hell Week, nor a punishing 100-mile ultramarathon, nor even the deepest, most demanding echelons of Navy SEAL training. It is, unequivocally, the relentless, silent war raging within his own mind. This war, he explains, is not fought with conventional weapons or against external enemies. It is a profound, daily battle against insidious fear, pervasive doubt, crippling insecurity, and the omnipresent reality of pain. It is the persistent, undermining voice that whispers, "You are not good enough," or "You have already done enough, just quit." Goggins reveals that learning to master this inner battlefield is the absolute key to mastering everything else in life. He candidly reveals that even after accumulating a staggering list of accomplishments, becoming a SEAL, completing multiple ultra-endurance races, shattering pull-up world records, and achieving best-selling author status, his mind still relentlessly attempts to hold him back. It whispers seductive temptations to quit when he is profoundly tired, to settle for comfortable mediocrity when things become easy, or to take an extended break when progress inevitably becomes hard. But instead of passively running from these internal voices, Goggins has meticulously trained himself to stand firm and fight them head-on. This internal fight, he emphasizes, is relentless, an unending daily struggle. Every morning, he wakes up and consciously confronts mental enemies patiently waiting for him: pervasive laziness, paralyzing fear of failure, and destructive negative self-talk. Instead of granting them power over his actions, he faces them with meticulous preparation and an unyielding will. He employs powerful mental tools such as vivid visualization, unshakable discipline, and brutal, uncompromising truth to systematically dismantle the lies his mind tries to feed him. He explains that your mind, much like a wild, untamed dog, must be rigorously tamed through consistent repetition and intentional, repeated exposure to discomfort. Goggins also delves into how past trauma and persistent pain actively feed this war within. His childhood abuse, the pervasive racism he endured, the crippling poverty, and the constant rejection left deep emotional wounds that created powerful mental triggers. But instead of allowing these profound adversities to serve as convenient excuses, he strategically transmuted them into potent fuel. He meticulously built mental calluses over time by deliberately choosing hard things, by courageously facing his fears directly, and by relentlessly reminding himself daily that his scars are not shameful signs of weakness. They are, in fact, undeniable badges of survival, strength, and resilience. He urgently urges the reader to look deeply within their own minds, identify the insidious mental patterns that keep you perpetually stuck, pinpoint the specific lies you habitually tell yourself, and most critically, seize absolute control of your own thoughts. Winning this war within does not happen instantaneously. It is a lifelong, daily practice of consciously choosing courage over fleeting comfort, decisive action over passive avoidance, an unyielding truth over deceptive ease. The chapter concludes with Goggins' powerful reminder that we are all, without exception, fighting some internal battle. The fundamental difference between those who defiantly rise and those who remain perpetually broken lies in their unwavering willingness to go to war daily, not merely to survive the onslaught, but to utterly dominate the inner battlefield with relentless honesty, unwavering discipline, unshakable grit. Chapter 14. Creating an Unbreakable Mindset. Discipline, suffering, self-mastery, freedom. Building an unbreakable mindset is the absolute cornerstone of lasting success and profound personal transformation. David Goggins, a living embodiment of mental toughness, distills this profound truth into a deceptively simple yet utterly profound formula: discipline plus suffering plus self-mastery equals freedom. It is a powerful equation, but to truly grasp its revolutionary potential, we must meticulously unpack each component and understand how they synergistically converge to forge an unstoppable mind. First, let us consider discipline. Discipline is the non-negotiable foundation upon which all genuine growth is built. It signifies consistently choosing the path of progress over the seductive allure of comfort, day after arduous day, even when it exacts a heavy toll, even when it feels overwhelmingly inconvenient. Discipline is that quiet, persistent, internal force that compels you to physically get out of bed when your body desperately begs for more sleep. It is the unwavering voice in your head that commands you to keep studying, to keep training, or to keep working when your friends are out enjoying leisure and fun. Discipline is not about punitive self-punishment or ascetic deprivation. It is fundamentally about intentional choice. It is the conscious decision that personal growth matters more, significantly more, than temporary ease or fleeting gratification. Without discipline, inherent talent, keen intelligence, or even fortunate luck, you'll never achieve their full potential because you will simply lack the consistent effort required to cultivate and maximize them. David Goggins' entire daily life serves as a stark, undeniable embodiment of this principle. His routine is unequivocally grueling. He rises at 4 a.m. to run, regardless of physical pain, inclement weather, or profound fatigue. This is not some masochistic act of self-punishment. It is a deliberate, conscious act of self-mastery, meticulously designed to rigorously train his mind and body to thrive, not just survive, under immense pressure. His unwavering discipline, he asserts, is his ultimate liberation. Through consistent, intentional suffering, he constructs an unparalleled resilience that allows him to push past limits that effortlessly break others. This hardened mindset grants him freedom, the freedom to excel when others quit, to defiantly rise above challenging circumstances, and to unequivocally dictate his own destiny. Suffering is almost universally perceived as something to be actively avoided. Pain and discomfort are, by their very nature, deeply uncomfortable. and most people instinctively shy away from them. But suffering, when thoughtfully embraced and strategically channeled, Goggins teaches, is the very forge in which indelible character and unshakable mental toughness are meticulously crafted. He states that suffering is a daily requirement for genuine growth. It is the relentless challenge that stretches you far beyond your comfort zone and forcibly compels your mind to adapt, to evolve, and to grow immeasurably stronger. Each time you willingly face suffering, whether it manifests as physical exertion, mental strain, or emotional distress, you are constructing an inner fortress, an impregnable mental armor that systematically prepares you for life's inevitable, brutal hardships. The relationship between discipline and suffering is profoundly symbiotic. Discipline provides the unwavering commitment that gets you to consistently show up, and suffering, in turn, is the crucible that makes you stronger, more resilient. Together, they radically transform your mindset from one that is fragile and easily broken to one that is truly unbreakable. This profound transformation is precisely what Goggins terms self-mastery, the extraordinary ability to control your impulses, to decisively overcome self-limiting beliefs, and to consistently direct your actions toward your highest goals and aspirations, regardless of the external circumstances may arise. Why does this fundamental concept matter so profoundly? Because mental strength, Goggins argues, is the ultimate competitive advantage in virtually every field imaginable, whether it be sports, business, education, or intensely personal development. Natural ability can only carry you so far. Without the unwavering commitment of discipline and the courageous willingness to endure suffering, inherent talent is tragically wasted and fleeting luck is quickly squandered. Those individuals who consistently outwork, outthink, and outlast everyone else ultimately win, Goggins asserts, because they have achieved true mastery over their own minds. The narratives of individuals who have achieved extraordinary success by cultivating an unbreakable mindset are abundant. Consider elite athletes who relentlessly train through debilitating injury and profound exhaustion, entrepreneurs who bravely persist through repeated crushing failures, or dedicated students who willingly sacrifice social time to meticulously master their craft. What fundamentally sets them apart is not merely their innate skill, it is their relentless discipline and their unyielding refusal to retreat from daunting challenges. These individuals consciously build habits that reinforce their unwavering commitment and create an unstoppable momentum that propels them relentlessly forward. Their meticulously cultivated mindset becomes an impenetrable shield against the corrosive forces of doubt, distraction, and despair. If your aspiration is to forge an unbreakable mindset, Goggins advises it must begin with small, consistent, deliberate actions. Identify one specific discipline you can commit to starting today. It could be waking up just 30 minutes earlier, committing to a daily workout routine, diligently journaling your goals every single night, or establishing a strict, non-negotiable work schedule. The critical key is to steadfastly stick with it, not just for a single day or a fleeting week, but for a solid 30 days straight. This duration is meticulously chosen to be long enough to begin systematically rewiring your brain, developing powerful new habits, and observing tangible, undeniable results. During these 30 days, you will inevitably face resistance. There will be days when you feel profoundly tired, utterly unmotivated, or strongly tempted to quit. This, Goggins emphasizes, is precisely where your nascent mindset is rigorously tested. In those moments, consciously choose to lean into the discomfort instead of instinctively running from it. Each time you courageously push through, you perceptibly strengthen your mental muscle. You unequivocally prove to yourself that you are fundamentally bigger than your excuses, and that your willpower is immeasurably more powerful than your self-generated doubts. As you progressively move forward, you will begin to notice a profound internal shift. Discipline will gradually become less about an arduous struggle and more about a deeply ingrained identity. You will start to perceive yourself as someone who consistently follows through, who simply does not give up, who profoundly owns their personal growth. This internal shift is the very essence of self-mastery, the transformative moment when your meticulously cultivated habits no longer demand external motivation because they have become an inseparable, fundamental part of who you intrinsically are. In practical terms, creating an unbreakable mindset means establishing firm boundaries around your precious time and finite energy, prioritizing what truly matters, and systematically eliminating all unnecessary distractions. It means planning your days with deliberate intention and meticulously following through with unwavering consistency. It also necessitates being brutally honest with yourself about where you fall short and taking immediate, decisive action to course correct. Accountability plays a monumental role here. Consistently holding yourself responsible for your commitments powerfully fuels your ongoing progress. Goggins' own lifestyle serves as a powerful, living exemplar of this all-encompassing approach. His 4 a.m. runs, his grueling, punishing workouts, and his almost superhuman mental toughness are not merely about achieving physical fitness. They are daily, non-negotiable rituals that meticulously build his profound psychological resilience. He does not seek comfort or convenient shortcuts. He actively embraces the relentless grind because he intimately understands that true freedom, the exhilarating freedom to push past perceived limits and achieve extraordinary, unparalleled results, is born directly from unwavering self-discipline and the courageous endurance of hardship. You do not need to aspire to become a Navy SEAL or an ultra-endurance athlete to profoundly benefit from this transformative mindset. Anyone, regardless of their current circumstances or aspirations, can effectively apply these principles by committing to their own tailored version of discipline and suffering. Whether you are a dedicated student striving for top academic grades, a driven professional endeavoring to build a successful business, or an individual simply seeking to dramatically improve your overall health and well-being, the fundamental formula remains steadfastly the same. Choose growth over comfort. Show up consistently, day after day. Courageously push through the hard days and relentlessly master yourself. Here is your ultimate challenge. Start with one specific discipline today. Commit to it unequivocally for 30 consecutive days. Meticulously track your progress. Reflect deeply on how this commitment profoundly changes your mindset and irrevocably alters your life. Observe with growing wonder how your mental strength steadily grows and how challenges that once seemed utterly insurmountable gradually become manageable, even routine. Witness firsthand what truly happens when you steadfastly refuse to back down, when you courageously say a resounding yes to discomfort, and when you unequivocally own your path without resorting to excuses. In the final analysis, creating an unbreakable mindset is not about achieving some elusive state of perfection. It is fundamentally about relentless perseverance. It is about waking up every single day with an unwavering commitment to be demonstrably better than you were yesterday. It is about profoundly transforming suffering into potent fuel and transmogrifying discipline into an exhilarating, liberating freedom. This, Goggins declares, is the singular mindset that consistently turns ordinary people into truly extraordinary achievers. So, now, ask yourself with unshakable resolve, what one discipline will you start today? How will you courageously embrace the suffering that is an indispensable part of genuine growth? How will you diligently master yourself, finally unlock your true, boundless freedom? The profound answers, Goggins assures us, lie deeply within you, patiently waiting for that pivotal choice to be courageously made. Make that choice now with conviction and embark on the transformative journey to an unbreakable mind. You are capable of becoming someone completely unrecognizable from who you are today. This transformation, Goggins stresses, is not about altering your physical appearance or changing your external circumstances overnight. It is about a far deeper, more profound metamorphosis, reshaping your mindset, meticulously rewiring your ingrained habits, and embracing the inevitable challenges that life throws at you with unwavering courage and unshakable discipline. Over the course of this journey through David Goggins' core principles, we have uncovered powerful, often brutal, truths about mental toughness. We have learned how pain can be repurposed as a potent tool, how your perceived limits are often nothing more than self-imposed myths, and how unyielding accountability and relentless discipline are the indispensable cornerstones of true freedom. Goggins' own incredible story stands as a testament to the extraordinary, often untapped power we all inherently hold within. From a child scarred by trauma and persistent struggle, from a body once profoundly out of shape and weak, he transformed into an elite Navy SEAL, a formidable ultra-endurance athlete, and a global symbol of relentless willpower. He shows us, through his undeniable example, that no matter where you begin your journey, your mind is the ultimate battlefield where your fate is definitively decided. His profound transformation was not a gift of luck or an outcome of innate talent alone. It was meticulously forged in the searing fires of relentless suffering, tempered by brutal, uncompromising honesty and hardened by unyielding discipline. He did not passively wait for external permission to become great. He granted himself that permission through consistent, deliberate action, day after day, year after year. This, Goggins insists, is the single most important takeaway for you. You do not need anyone else's approval to fundamentally change your life. You do not require permission from friends, family, or societal expectations. The only approval you genuinely need is your own. Discipline, Goggins states, is the undeniable gateway to that freedom. When you consciously choose discipline over fleeting comfort, when you firmly decide to push past the pain and the insidious doubt, you irrevocably reclaim control over your own destiny. You become the absolute master of your own mind. And with that hard-won self-mastery comes an unstoppable, boundless power. Right now, in this very moment, I challenge you to take one single actionable idea from what you have just learned and immediately act on it today. Perhaps it is committing to waking up just a little earlier, pushing through one more grueling rep, or finally holding yourself accountable for something you have been diligently avoiding. Whatever it is, do it deliberately and with full, unshakable commitment. This small, decisive step is precisely where true transformation begins. Remember, greatness is not a singular monumental act. It is the cumulative result of daily, intentional choices, repeated without fail. If this message has resonated deeply with you, if it has ignited a spark of recognition and resolve, I invite you to like this video as a tangible way to affirm your commitment to personal growth. Please drop a comment below, sharing which specific lesson impacted you the most. Your insightful perspective might just be the catalyst that inspires someone else in this community to take their own courageous step. And please, do not keep this powerful message to yourself. Share this video with someone you know who genuinely needs to hear it, someone who is seeking their own path to an unbreakable mind. Lastly, subscribe to the Liberty Audiobook channel for more powerful book summaries that deliver actionable wisdom directly to you, empowering you to become the strongest, most disciplined, and most fulfilled version of yourself. Stay hard,